The first time Mason told me he'd ruin me, I laughed in his face. The second time, he kissed me so hard I forgot why I ever laughed. It was late September in Rosewood, Pennsylvania, the kind of town where the leaves changed earlier than anywhere else, and gossip traveled faster than the wind off the Susquehanna River. I'd grown up here, lived every awkward teenage year here, and swore I'd never let anyone in again after what my last relationship did to me. But Mason Carter wasn't just anyone. He was the alpha in the kind of way that didn't come from just broad shoulders and an intimidating glare, but from the way he walked into a room like he already owned it. Unfortunately, Mason's half-brother, Aiden, was he used to be my fiancé. That alone should have been the reason to keep my distance. Instead, it was the reason Mason had decided I needed to pay. You think you can just leave him, wreck him, and walk away? Mason's voice still had that slow, deliberate edge when he cornered me outside the cafe on Main Street. His leather jacket creaked as he leaned in. I didn't wreck him, I said, pretending my pulse wasn't betraying me. We were already broken. Mason didn't blink. Then I'll break you. Fair's fair. That's how it began, not with soft smiles or stolen glances, but with a threat. And yet, from the very beginning, there was something behind his eyes that didn't match his words. The first weeks were a chess game neither of us admitted we were playing. He'd show up where I was: the grocery store, the gym, even my shift at the library, leaning against the counter, smirking like he had all the time in the world. He'd make pointed comments about Aiden, about how I broke his brother's heart, about how I'd better not be looking for another Carter to ruin. I fought back the only way I knew how, with sarcasm. You're spending a lot of energy on me, Mason. Should I be flattered or file a restraining order? Go ahead, he'd reply. But then you won't get to see what happens next. What happened next was confusing. Somewhere between his need to intimidate me and my determination not to care, little cracks formed in his armor. Like the night we got caught in the rain walking back from the diner. He'd been teasing me mercilessly, and I'd finally snapped, telling him to go bother someone else. Then his jacket was around my shoulders before I realized I was shivering. Don't read into it, he muttered. Wouldn't dream of it, I said, but I did. The night it changed, there was no warning. We were arguing again in the parking lot outside O'Malley's bar. He'd accused me of stringing Aiden along just for fun, and I'd accused him of being a self-righteous jerk who didn't actually care about his brother. Then, mid-sentence, he grabbed me. His mouth was on mine before my brain caught up. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't polite. It was the kind of kiss that came from weeks of tension snapping like a frayed wire. I should have pushed him away. Instead, I pulled him closer. From that night, we were something else, still arguing, still stubborn, but now with stolen kisses behind closed doors, whispered words that made my chest ache, and touches that lingered longer than they should. We didn't tell anyone. Rosewood didn't forgive easily, and Aiden had already made it clear I was dead to him. Mason and I pretended we were enemies in public, but in private, his hands were on my hips, his forehead pressed to mine, and his voice was softer than I thought it could be. You drive me insane, he'd say. Good, I'd answer, just to see that flicker in his eyes that wasn't anger anymore. It all came to a head the night of the Carter family's charity gala. I hadn't planned on going too many stairs, too much whispered judgment, but Mason showed up at my apartment in a dark suit, looking like trouble and heaven in one package. You're coming with me, he said, no room for argument. We walked in together, and every conversation in the room seemed to stop. Aiden was there, of course, looking at us like we'd set fire to his entire life. For a moment, guilt twisted in my stomach. But then Mason's hand found mine, and I remembered every night he'd held me when I couldn't sleep, every moment he'd let me see the man under all that steel. Aiden confronted us, words like knives, accusing me of betrayal and Mason of cruelty. Mason didn't raise his voice. He just said, I'm not sorry. You never loved him the way I do. That was the first time I realized Mason had never been playing a game. The threats, the anger, they'd been walls he built because wanting me felt wrong, because loyalty to his brother was supposed to come first. But somewhere along the way, I'd become more than just the guy who hurt Aiden. The fallout wasn't easy. Aiden cut both of us off. Half the town stopped speaking to me, and the other half just watched, waiting for us to fail. But Mason stayed. Through every cold shoulder and whispered rumor, he stayed. One night in late winter, we were sitting on the porch of my place, wrapped in a blanket, snow falling in the glow of the street lamp. He kissed my temple and said, "You still think I was going to ruin you?" "You did," I told him. "You ruined every plan I had for staying safe and alone." He smiled, really smiled, and pulled me closer. "Good, because I'm not done yet. And maybe I should have been scared of that. But for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid at all. Because sometimes love doesn't come in the form you expect. Sometimes it starts with a threat and ends with a promise. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the man who swore he'd make you regret everything becomes the one person you'd never take back. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.